Years ago, when Elliott Lake was basically built, predominantly to service the mines. And in 1990, there was a major announcement to shut down all the mining industry. So as a result, we lost our entire industry. So the whole decade of the 90s has been rebuilding a new economy, a new adventure for all of us in Elliott Lake. And we're so delighted that we're able now to showcase what Elliott Lake really has to offer.
The main focus has been retirement living over the last 10 years, 12 years. But now that that has basically sustained itself and it's doing some of its own development, we are now looking at using the wilderness as an activity area. Whether you're an artist, whether you're a snow enthusiast, whether you just want a place to live and do home-based business, we have it all here. I think that Elliott Lake's unique because within a 60-mile radius we have over 4,000 lakes, lots of hiking trails that have all been well maintained with pamphlets that are available through Mississauga Park. Lots of spec trout areas that you can actually go from your car from 108. I guess the other thing is it's a four-season destination. We have over 500 kilometers of snowmobile trails that have been developed with the use of volunteers and the local Snowbirds Club. When you start talking about 60-mile radius, it allows us to work with a variety of communities such as Blind River, Spanish, Township of the North Shore, as well as working with outlying communities. In all of them they have sites or venues that are unique to themselves. People are always amazed at how many sites and venues we have to do things in. We're here to discover. We'd love people to come and take a look around.
I'm sure that those that have visited during this event will testify that this is probably what we call the jewel in the wilderness.
On the north edge of town is Wayside Park. This is the midpoint of the race where the public gets a chance to cheer on the athletes and where race headquarters, the nerve center of Raid the North, is situated.
You leave the passport here with me. You can cross over the road to her. Okay. I'm going to hold on to this right here. So whenever you're ready to take off, whatever you got to do, sleep, rest, come back over here to get the passport. Okay?
Thanks.
So we're coordinating all the communications between the checkpoints, between the vehicles on the course, and the media as well, just to make sure everybody's in the right place at the right time. Safety is absolutely paramount to us. We've got an extensive safety net which goes beyond just the radio coverage that we have out on the course. We keep track of where all teams are at all times. So when we haven't heard from a team for a significant period of time, we will send people out into the bush to start looking for them.
12 hours.
Did you guys sleep good on the trail?
Within 12 hours, I call that soon. Yeah, that is good.
I did laundry.
Hey, so what's the scoop with the race?
Been on my bike too much, been on the ground too much. Just anything for a change. That's all that matters. And as soon as I'll be on the kayak for an hour, I'd be like, get me off this bloody thing. That's how it works. You know, you could do one until you get sick of it, and then you're ready to get off it. So, but yeah, I'm ready.
Most of the field is still between checkpoints 8 and 11. Some deciding to wait for daylight before attempting the rope section. By the end of day Thursday, 15 of 16 teams will have completed the zip line. So far, only one team, number 14 El Facoba, has dropped out prior to checkpoint 8.
Come on, buddy.
The thick forest between checkpoints 6 and 9 is one factor that slowed many teams down. But the rugged features and many lakes below the tree canopy is another, which takes on a very different perspective from ground level.
The adventure. We get our finals in so many little different epics every time. Like on the way to the ascending, we swam across the lake, and then we had to climb up these cliffs, and we had to jump off into the lake because they just kept on going up. And then last night we were out swimming in this lake around these cliffs, and they just kept on going forever.
The 200-foot rope ascent is a required element in the race, and the skill level of the participants varies. Modern climbing equipment ensures that the task is relatively safe, and while some approach it with caution, all experience the adrenaline rush of scaling a vertical wall under your own power. Arriving at the top puts all fears to rest, and although winning is no longer an option, finishing is still within sight. The will of the participants grows stronger with another challenge left behind, and a message is carried in the current: never give up. Solomon Eco Internet has now been on their mountain bikes for nearly 15 hours. 2.5 days have passed since the start of the race. And although they have kept up their planned pace, the course has taken its toll. The biking may be their weakest discipline, so the final minutes of this leg takes extraordinary concentration. The unshakable aspect of this team is teamwork itself, and with the end in sight, their will gets stronger.
The first 7K, we waded through waist-deep swamps almost carrying our bikes and bashing through like head-high grass.
Or riding? Yeah. What are we doing?
First of all, we're all a little bit sick. We're all a little bit masochistic. But I think at the base of it is a real desire to do something extraordinary.
The final leg of the race is sea kayaking on the North Channel. Checkpoint 16 is at the Spanish Municipal Marina, a focal point for North Shore activities.
Spanish is well situated. It's about halfway between Little Current and Blind River. It's right at the mouth, actually, of the Whaleback Channel and the McBain Channel. They're dotted with islands, both of them. They're deep channels. The waterways here are reputed to be the most beautiful in the world. The water's clean. It's well protected, so people really, really enjoy this.
Team Solomon Eco Internet has just finished the mountain biking section, and they're at the start of the sea kayaking. They're about 14 hours ahead of the next team. They're clearly dominating this field. They're going to get about 45 minutes sleep before they head out, which means they're going to start it in the night, but we've got a full moon tonight and a clear sky, so it's going to be a beautiful paddle. We expect them to finish at about 2:30 this morning. So it'll be a beautiful late night paddle through the North Channel.
Friday morning, 6:30 a.m., and the sun rises over the athletes of Raid the North for the 4th consecutive day. Team Solomon Eco Internet paddles silently into Whitefish Falls. More than 300 kilometers and 70 hours from the start of the race. There are a few fans here to greet them. Most are still sleeping, savoring the opportunity to rest in the waning days of summer. For this team, rest will be the reward for a race well executed. Sore muscles and fatigue with only a few hours of sleep in as many days will take over now. Survival instincts give way to the need to recover and reflect on the experience, the spectacular landscape, the moments of doubt, and the bond that keeps a team going. For 3 days and 3 nights, the 4 have been won.
Yes.
Well done.
Finishing an event like this is actually always kind of bittersweet because it's a pretty intense experience that you go through, and then when it finishes, well, that's kind of all over. There's lots of talking about it that goes on for years and years afterwards.
You know, it might be a bit early, but I don't know day or night anymore anyways. None of it matters to me. But there was a couple times where all 4 heads were down, all 4 of us were snoring, and boats were drifting.
For me, it was very much a closer representation of what I believe adventure racing is, you know, which is being clever and figuring out navigational problems and being able to just get your shins whacked 1,000 times in a row by a bush and not blow, you know.
This race was interesting to us because for a race that took us a bit under 3 days, it had all the elements of a full expedition, you know, 10-day race, which was incredible because we had the same physical, mental, and emotional feelings that we had in those big races, and it was condensed down into a short length of time.
This is Transition Area 3. It's about the halfway point in the race and probably the most critical checkpoint for teams. Team Solomon Eco Internet hit here yesterday morning and has already finished the race. But as you can see, there's still plenty of action here. This is what a typical transition area looks like as teams gear up, refuel, re-energize, and get their spirits going again before heading back out. They just came off a 50-kilometer trek that took many of them more than 50 hours to complete, and certainly it took its toll.
It's always a surprise, isn't it?
What we've been worried about here at Transition Area 3 is the feet. A lot of people have been on their feet for well over 50 hours now. A lot of problems. These feet have turned red here from toenail polish. No, I'm just joking. We've had a lot of problems with blisters and then blisters building on top of the blisters and dirt getting inside the blisters, so infections running along the toe line. A couple of people have actually lost toenails in the transition area. So basically what we're doing here is bandaging them back up together, bandaging them up and putting them right back out again.
We've counted up 56 hours. We had about 10 power bar Cliff Bars among us all, about 8 gels, and a couple sandwiches, and that was it, other than water we picked up on the course. So that was a hard leg.
The first day we did some bushwhacking with the canoes, and breaking trail, and they got just destroyed. And then I couldn't wear pants after that because they were festering and like rotting. You could just smell the splash. I got a picture for you. So I had to wear shorts for the whole thing.
Kudos to Robin Benacasa, man. She is an animal. I can't believe they're in.
Yogurt we got.
Very, very challenging course. Incredibly difficult bushwhacking. Navigation is key, but you can't always do it quite right. I mean, things come up that aren't on maps, and you've got to, I mean, we played with cliffs. We've been gone 45 hours, and the name of the game was cliffs.
Team 3, Olympia, opted for an extended break at checkpoint 12. Their strategy pays off, and 8 hours out on the mountain bikes, they now sit in second place. Team 10, Lycos, had maintained second place since early in the race, but navigational problems and a nagging knee injury forced them to return to checkpoint 12 late last night. They set out again, having lost nearly 15 hours through their ordeal, now running fourth. Team 13, Timbuktu, departed checkpoint 12 at 9:56, also having rested for 4.5 hours. They are now in third place, and with over 30 hours to go, there is still time to make up the 6-hour gap between them and Team Olympia. Calm winds over the first 4 days of racing have given way to 30-knot gusts. Team number 13, Timbuktu, arrived at checkpoint 16 early Saturday morning in third place, 4.5 hours behind team number 3, Olympia. Timbuktu needed rest, but with a 2-hour stop, gave up any chance of overtaking Olympia, who are now benefiting from tailwinds with the brewing storm here in the final leg of the race, which could have broken far more than just tired spirits.
Well, I'm here now with Brian with Team Osprey and Margot with Team Osprey and my other teammate Jeff with my team, Team SVC. 2 nights ago, the female on our team ended up with an eye infection and was taken into Blind River Hospital. We decided to continue as a 3-man team, and this morning when we came in and left out in the bikes, our 4th teammate had his front suspension forks explode on a significant downhill and ended up into the hospital as well with over 8 stitches and a serious case of gravel rash. So we felt that racing together made sense.
The second mountain bike section proved to be taking its toll. Team Adventure Rats were casualties to the course when Cheryl Hurley of Rochester, New York, competing in her first adventure race, suffers a serious crash. With a race cutoff time of 2 p.m., the team was pushing the pace and battling fatigue, which led to a critical mistake. Special precautions are made to evacuate Hurley to a local hospital to examine possible neck and back injuries. Fortunately, the diagnosis is only bumps and bruises. But after nearly 100 hours of determination, Team Adventure Rats is forced to withdraw. After 13 hours in rough water, Team Olympia approaches Whitefish Falls and the finish. Team Salomon Eco Internet show their support by escorting the second-place team as they paddle towards home. Traditional First Nations drumming pays respect to the athletes who have fought the elements on the outside and within to finally realize this moment. Although 29 hours behind Salomon Eco Internet, Olympia members Philip Roadley, Alexander Mann, Mark Fedina, and Kurt Gibson proved they have what it takes to handle the big races. Raid the North proves to be excellent training for their next assault. The 1999 Eco Challenge in Patagonia, Argentina. In a true display of sportsmanship, Team Timbuktu and Team Nomads will finish together. Providing help is actually against race rules, but an exception is made and a third-place tie awarded.
Conditions in the kayaking were extremely rough. The winds whipped up to about 30 knots, and in the main channel, swell hit 9 to 12 feet. This was a little bit too much for what we wanted competitors to be going through, so we cut the race off at a certain point at checkpoint 17. Team Timbuktu and Team Nomad actually were out there in the thick of it. Team Nomad stopped at one point to radio in and let us know that they were fine and things were going okay. But one of the members had swam across to another island, and Timbuktu came in, picked up that teammate and brought them back, gave them a little bit of help. And so the two teams actually ended up finishing together, which I think is a great display of what adventure racing is about, the camaraderie and the sharing of the experience between teams.
With deteriorating conditions, race officials decide to introduce a race cutoff time of 2 p.m. Saturday at checkpoint 16, where the sea kayak section begins. By 2 o'clock, the last teams were struggling to leave the Spanish Marina as the winds continue to increase in strength. 6 teams are on the water as conditions turn from difficult to dangerous.
Separated from your teammates for at least 3 hours, is that correct?
10-4. So it was not a situation where someone tipped and you lost sight in that way. They just continued on a different course. Is that what I understand? Over.
10-4, there was no tipping, but there was perhaps a communication error from across our boat during the first leg of our route. Over.
The concern is that we haven't had radio contact with them. They are in the big open water, the open water section of the paddling, and the local harbor master has informed us that there are up to 12-foot waves crashing in, which are slightly different than sea waves because of all the rocky islands. They get ones that come in and break off the rocks. So our concern right now is getting a boat that's large enough.
The Ontario Provincial Police patrol the open water and launched a cruiser to assist in the search and rescue. The local harbor master taxied rescue teams from the islands close to the mainland. Declining temperatures after nightfall presents an increased risk of hypothermia. Keeping warm and protected from the cold became much more than a matter of comfort.
We just stopped to put some extra clothing on because we got cold having crossed one of the big bays, and then one of the other adventure racers came running off the island saying that they'd lost contact with one of the other their other boat. Basically they'd lost them, so we gave them the emergency radio.
Oh, yeah.
They radioed in and then they said the race was on hold. So our plan was actually to go to the first checkpoint But I was a little scared.
Teams came to compete over the rugged terrain of the Northern Ontario landscape. Although only 4 went the entire distance, all showed what is at the heart of an adventure race. Just when the grueling course and sleep deprivation seem to have won, somehow, from somewhere deep inside, you find the will to push on, the strength to go another mile, and the determination to never give up.
I had no idea that it was going to require a lot of mental, emotional, tons of physical.
Venture racing is probably only about 40% physical, and the rest is kind of mental and spiritual and pushing through pain. And it really is the best combination of everything a human being has.
Every time I do one of these races, it seems to open up a door for myself personally or for someone else around me, and it's an opportunity to learn something else about someone.
A successful team is one that sort of trades off the responsibilities and you know, bolsters the weaknesses of any person at any given time with the strength that the other people have.
Sierra Design's Raid the North Extreme has been sponsored by Salomon.